What a day, huh? David, just doing it all day long. Really excited about this conversation. Let's start it off. I mean, we have a professor, a CTO, a consultant, and an investor. They all walk into a data center and that's no good. So we're going to talk about agentic AI agents, and we're going to talk about really like kind of where humans kind of fit in that whole thing. And I think you guys each have a unique perspective. I just want to start off, and I know that this has been a concept that's been addressed a little bit, you know, definitely towards marketing, and we're going to get there. How do you guys, and let's start with Imran, define agentic AI, but maybe the way you're thinking about it as an investor?
Yeah, I think about agentic AI as an assistant, that significantly improve productivity. And from an investor perspective, I think like a lot of times people get really excited about technology, but in my opinion, from an investor perspective, a cool technology that one either don't have distribution or doesn't improve productivity, doesn't have a lot of value. So I think the interesting thing about agentic AI that it significantly, dramatically improve productivity. Probably the kind of productivity gain, probably the more productivity gain we saw during the dot-com internet, beginning of internet.
Yeah.
We saw 1.5% productivity gain for the country.
All right, really quickly, because that took a lot of time for that technology. Like, where are we? Are we in the first inning, second inning?
Oh, AI, first inning.
For your industry?
Yep.
Okay. Alan.
Yeah, I would also say first inning. For me, agentic is the step, an exciting step from old RPA, which was sort of roles process automation, robotic process automation, very simplistic, rules-based. The next step up, which is applying intelligence to workflows. And as that gets smarter and better, I actually think we'll go from assistant to actually full-fledged, effectively employees doing complicated work and learning. And that will open up all kinds of areas today that would be too expensive previously to go after for automation. So productivity improvement will be substantial from agentic.
Okay. Christian.
So I was asked what the difference is between an agent and agentic AI, and I think an agent is an assistant. It can do one task. Agentic AI gets much deeper, and it starts to evoke feelings of intuition, which spooks some people out. What it's really doing is it's understanding context. It has access to a pretty solid data foundation, so it can pull more knowledge. And with those things together, it'll route a task in a semi-autonomous way to other agents. And when that comes back, it becomes a great companion for what you're getting done, what you need to get done. Intelligence, productivity, just creative collaboration as well. And you didn't ask me what inning we're in, but I'd probably put it more on like a story arc of a movie. I think we're through Act 1. Act 1 took a decade. But we're into Act 2, and some of us start to have a feeling for where the story is going to end, but there will certainly be some twists along the way.
I'll say it's a piece of code that operates without a human supervision. And for innings, I don't know how many there are on the menu, but how many are there?
We had 9, and the Yankees just kind of blew 4 of them last night.
So I would say we're close to the end. I feel that the agentic AI is the buzzword of 2025. We kind of milked this one, and soon it's going to be a new one. And then this is going to be the next. So I think closer to the end of this kind of generation.
Yeah, and you approach it from more of an academic standpoint. Yeah. Christian, you just said something interesting, about data. Okay, so we're at a point where all of you guys work, Alan works with a bunch of different folks in different industries. You're obviously most focused from a marketing standpoint. Give us a sense of where, like, the data sets, like the input and where we are right now, because, again, you think it's something where we're going to continue to kind of refine data. We're going to get to a point where a lot of the systems that are, basically organizing it and such. Speak to us about that right now, because is that still like some form of a kind of roadblock here?
Well, this gets a little bit to what's been discussed. I think that models are converging, and we need a new technology. We need a whole new approach, which will change a lot of dependencies. And the leading foundation model creators are talking about synthetic data and have been for a while. But all of that is a little bit in theory, because the value you create from all of this LLM world is actually applied. And I think that depends deeply on data, proprietary data sets, what you know about your business and how it's applied. The magic, the unicorns and rainbows happens and how all of that is combined and routed together. But yeah, in a probabilistic AI world, I said this earlier, the deterministic data, the data you really know about your business, how you combine that with LLMs, that's where you generate business value.
Yeah, and Imran, something near and dear to my heart and yours, I mean, you're staring at screens all day long, and that data is changing really quickly, and the news flow, and just talk to us about the mission critical timing. It's something that, are you feeling like it's just scratching the surface? Some of the fact set which you use, you stare at all day long, you're making decisions about that. Are companies like that helping you kind of make better investment decisions?
Not yet, but we are building we're trying to build a lot of our own tools, right? So one is information is now everywhere. How can we extract all this information and decide sentiment? And then the question is, can you train an agentic AI of our process, and then agent can spit out the investment decision based on our process? We're not there yet, but we see the opportunities to build tools like that.
Yeah, and Moran, give us a sense, your students, undergrad, graduates, and what has driven them or drawn them to, let's say, your class and kind of this industry? Is it because this is kind of the shiniest thing going on right now?
So jobs, they realize that there's going to be a lot of jobs there, so they're trying to do that. I don't also feel that they're being threatened, so they feel like there's something that will change and they need to kind of be on top of that. And I think that they're also kind of a cultural thing right now. They feel like even if I go to work in topology later on, I'm going to need to use AI somehow there. So I need to have that in my arsenal. So even if you're going to work in AI or you're going to not work in AI, you need to know AI. And I think that's what makes them interested.
Yeah, so Alan, on the jobs front, obviously you're working with a lot of companies. They pay you guys a lot of money to kind of help them or help them navigate or help you navigate them through some of these technology changes. Where is some of the uptake that you're seeing right out of the gate as far as what industries?
Yeah, look, I think this is obviously the big question is what happens to jobs. And I think we're in a stage now where there's one or two areas where the changes are already happening and they are fundamental. And we're in most other areas, we're more in the assistant mode. And the two where we're seeing the biggest changes are, one, in coding, right, where agents, and this is where I think we're going to see the fastest evolution of agents moving from being an assistant to being a full-fledged, ultimately senior engineer, right, able to break problems apart and solve them. And then in things where there's lots of people doing similar repetitive work, so call center, we're already seeing a huge impact. I think the question is, over time, what other areas get affected by that?
Yeah, so Christian, talk to us. I mean, there's been a lot of research out there, maybe from some of your competitors. You guys have been probably putting out some of the same stuff. There just doesn't seem in the enterprise right now a lot of uptake for, let's say, co-pilots first, and then where agents are working themselves through some of the processes. But you guys, and I met David, I want to say back in 2017, and he was on a stage like this, and he was just talking about their data cloud powered by, and that was kind of early. So talk to us, where are you guys from a marketing standpoint? How has it kind of changed your business? And it seems like something that you guys have been focused on for a long time.
Yeah, so it's accelerated it, certainly, but not in unexpected ways. Because we're so familiar with AI and where the systems are going, you could start reading the tea leaves long ago on it. For engineering specifically, we've got a tremendous set of tools, but it's not a warm blanket you can put on at the end of the day. It's very surgical. So every engineering task has a slightly different tool chain to create efficiency. Same with our platform itself. The patterns have been there. We've studied them. The technologies have changed, continue to change, but you could see the trajectory along the way. Absolutely transformational in terms of what we can achieve, not transformational in what we believed we could achieve.
Okay, so we've all used ChatGPT, Perplexity, that sort of thing, and we're kind of like, okay, do I trust the output? Do I want to click through? All that sort of stuff, and that's kind of probably going to get better. Obviously, the data, where it's drawing it from and the kind of models is really important. How do you guys, and that's us to decide, and that's going to get better and better. The one you use today is going to be the worst version of that ever, right? So, Moran, how do you think about it, though, in the enterprise? How do you define trust for businesses? Because it's not as mission critical for us as individuals, but in the enterprise it is.
Okay, so I'll say first of all, when we think of trust, I think when you said the word, everyone here thought about trust between humans. So I trust you, you trust me. I think there's a new component in this, which is AI. Do you trust AI? And does AI trust you? And I think up to now, we kind of didn't have a way to think about it. Third layer, which I think is the new one, is does AI trust other AI? We have research now from groups of scientists who have AI talk to each other. And turns out, first of all, AI trusts AI much more than humans. If you give them text written by other AI, they immediately know it and they immediately trust it more, so they give it more. And also, they prefer to speak to AI from their own company. So if you let Claude's agent talk to ChatGPT's agent, they trust it less. So we think of AI as trust as like a different thing. We only know how to trust humans. Now we have to kind of evolve into a third layer of trust, which is how we kind of play the game with adults.
Yeah. So, Alan, when you think about trust and you think about your clients, what's more important, trust right now or some of the regulation that's kind of been emerging? And I know that this is an area that we hadn't seen a whole heck of a lot until quite recently, but like, what are your clients most focused on?
Yeah, look, I'll make maybe two comments on this. One is I was with one of the AI companies, brought some clients with me to see them, and they kept saying, we asked the model to do this, and it surprised us it could do this amazing thing. And then we asked the model to do this, and it surprised us it could do this amazing thing. And they kept going on and on. And I said, guys, the last thing I would ever want to do is go to a CEO and say, I've got this great piece of software. It's going to surprise you every day. If you're in a regulated industry, that's about the worst thing you would ever want to hear, right? So I think to your question, there's still a lot that we're working around in a technology that's inherently probabilistic, right? It is meant to generate new answers. That's great for some things. It's not great for where I need certainty. And we're figuring that out. We're also figuring out how the agents interact with each other. Moran, I think your points are really interesting about agents with other agents. And we're finding really interesting behavior. We were doing some work where we allowed an agent to take a task, break it into pieces, and then spin up basically junior agents to do the work. The problem was the junior agents thought, oh, this is great, and they were spinning up agents. And all of a sudden, none of the agents were doing any work. They were just spinning up their assistants. So this is all things we're going to have to work through and understand in the workflow and how we manage this. It's all to be worked out.
All right, Imran, you just hosted a conference down in Dallas called The Conference with a K, pretty dope name there. But you had some amazing investors, a lot of amazing CEOs. David was one of them. And people, they come in the audience and they just want to hear what these CEOs have to say, what these investors have to say. Investing used to be like a very qualitative sort of thing initially, right? You like the company, you like the management, you like their moats, all that sort of stuff. But you're now at a point where, without some sort of quantitative process, you're not investing anymore, right? And so you just talked about how you build your own algos. You've been doing that for a while. It also takes like a little personal touch. How do you think that is right now transforming? If you are not working with this technology in an industry like yours, will you just be left behind?
Yeah, I think the decision making needs to be faster and faster because the market now moves incredibly faster because a lot of other companies are building machines, quant trading is not a new thing. It has been going on for a while. So as the speed of information moving faster, the decision making needs to be faster also. So sometimes human cannot make decision faster, cannot extract all the information faster. So you kind of have to build tools over time.
So what sort of insights have you gotten? You've been following companies like Microsoft and Google and obviously Zeta, which you're on the board of. What sort of insights did you get the way that they've been ramping up CapEx over the last few years about really where this industry, is going? And really, again, this goes back to first, inning, bottom of the first or something like that. What sort of insights did you gain from some of the CapEx and what's...
Yeah, I think we're going through probably the single most platform shift since internet, right, in mid-90s. And this kind of things happens every 30 years, every 40 years. And when this kind of transformation happens, there are always winners and losers. People who embrace the change wins a lot of times, and people who doesn't embrace the change don't exist anymore. Like think about it, companies in 1980s, there are a lot of companies that don't exist anymore. So I think all the companies do understand that it's kind of existential threat for them, that they do have to invest, and we're in an arms race, right? So that's why you're seeing pretty significant CapEx investment, and it's growing. We'll see how long and when we start seeing the ROI from that. But we understand one thing for sure. Sometimes it's hard to predict when, but we know that it will happen. That pretty fundamental platform shift we're going to see in next few years, and So I think companies, you cannot fall behind on that.
Yeah. I probably got away a little bit from what the title of the panel was, but we were talking about human collaboration with agentic AI. Christian, help me out here, because I've obviously fallen down. How are you guys thinking about human collaboration?
Human in the loop. I think that the saying goes, AI is not going to replace you, but someone that knows how to use AI tools will, is absolutely true. We see a really steady pattern in our work. We still need humans to create input, to create objective functions. It's no different than it was in a lot of ways a while ago with more traditional machine learning or AI. And then we want to use AI to create more productivity, more intelligence, but we also need humans, after they've automated all of those tasks, to validate this and sometimes nudge it along. And anybody who's used AI to do something like an image before, you get an okay image, you just wish you could change it a little bit. The early tools for that were awful. And so software is going to adapt to take the output of these agentic systems and put it back in a system that has the affordance to really curve it to your need or to specialize it to your brand or make it more of an extension of you. So I really see a bookend of humans today. And going back to trust, it's going to be a little while until we trust AI implicitly to do all of the work on our behalves.
All right, little teaser. We were all asked, a lot of the speakers, to give in a little video that you guys will probably all see soon enough, one word that is basically to you as it relates to AI and the future of marketing. Alan, what was yours? And give me a quick, one sentence of why.
Actually, didn't get the question.
Oh. I'm sure, the invite's in the mail, but you're good.
I guess the important people got the question. Look, I think what is going to change for all of us and all of your, your customers and clients is this sense of incredible personalization that AI is going to afford, and capturing that and figuring out how do you essentially deliver something that feels very unique yet still actually has your value proposition is going to be a real challenge through an AI, because I think the shift to the initial interface for most people is going to be through some LLM. We can debate which one. So how do you think about that personalization in that context is the big question.
Moran, what about you?
I also didn't get the email, but I'm going to come up with one right now. I will say that the word I like the most in the context of hallucination, that's my word, hallucination, and I'll spin it in a different way. I think all of us grew to hate hallucinations. It's kind of like the failure of AI. I think it's a great thing. I think AI hallucinations are basically the only way by which AI pushes boundaries. Everything else, statistics, is kind of going one way. Hallucinations are the only moment in AI where something unexpected happens that if we seize it correctly, that's where innovation is going to happen. So I think hallucinations, what used to be a mistake, is where I put all my chips now.
Is that something you kind of work with your students about, is like, don't get worried? Because there's a lot of negativity about, and it goes actually to that question of trust with hallucinations.
Concrete kind of thing. So I think I know how AI works. And then I talk to companies like OpenAI, and they tell me about AI version 7, 8, and it's always remarkable, and I didn't see it coming. So right now, they're sitting in the offices, and they think not just kind of how to make this a little bit better, but on really new use cases. Maybe we can kill Facebook or kill LinkedIn by doing something new and so on. And when it shows up, everyone says, oh, of course, this is the next thing. So I love the people who sit and come up with new ideas. So I tell my students, do that. And when my students are kind of constantly failing is when they think of like, okay, I see what's happening right now, let's make the most out of it. Hallucinations are kind of, let's forget about this, go all in, come up with a new thing. That's what I love, and that's what I want AI to do more.
All right. Christian, you as a CTO are probably like a kid in a candy store with all this technology, the way in which it is evolving. Like, give us a sense of, like a really optimistic take about it, because there's a lot of pessimistic takes. Like, if you're in the investment world, it seems like every day there's a new, hey, listen, these people are not using these things. This is a, problem, you know what I mean, in search of a solution sort of situation. So give us a sense of just, from an optimistic standpoint, how you think about the technology.
Massively optimistic. I believe that all the woes we get from these AI solutions are going to be solved by new AI solutions. I am radically interested in what we're going to do in healthcare and pharmaceuticals. The quality of life beyond marketing, and there is some life outside of marketing, is going to get immensely better. So I am very optimistic about it, and it's nice to have contrarian views, and sometimes you get clicks, so you read a lot about it. But I think we're going to out-AI all of the problems that we face. The timeline is uncertain, but I have conviction that there's enough smart people that are in academia and are in industry that are going to continue to remain really focused on solving any of the woes that come up.
Imran, what was your word?
So I think it'll be more personalization, but I think for marketing folks here, there are 4 things going to happen, I think, with AI, and these will happen, I think, in next 12 to 18 months. Number 1 is creative. So as you probably know, that the better the creative, that drives higher click-through rate, better effectiveness of advertising. The creative makes a pretty significant difference. With AI, you will be able to meaningfully accelerate your ad creative creation process, and that will have a very fundamental improvement in CTR. Second is personalization. I think 99% of the ad is wasted, so modest improvement in the personalization make a significant. Third is client support. Right, you need thousands of people, and I used to run Snap advertising business. Had people all over the world doing ad, transparency and making sure that the right ad is and all this kind of things. We can make that process significantly faster. You can get the ad out like the way we can trade faster. You can actually get the ad out incredibly faster. And then the fourth is making sure the quality of the ad and where the ad's showing up, all those kind of transparency will improve significantly.
Christian, you work with a lot of just great companies, great brands, right? And as you're introducing these products, how do you think about like brand consistency? Like, is this one of the big concerns that if agents are doing what all of you guys just said, whatever your words were, right? It's predictive, it's personalization, that sort of thing. Are there worries about like a consistent branding message?
Yeah, absolutely. But also, I think we'll out-AI ourselves on this. We designed our own system for brand consistency. We put our entire UI and all of the patterns and controls that go into it behind what's called an MCP server and limited it to that. So we know we get really consistent results back. You can design a new application in moments that looks like the rest of your applications, but there's still challenges with it. And the hallucinations are a big issue in some cases, and absolutely delightful in others. When we first started designing these algorithms, we had to design in what we called serendipity back then. Otherwise, it would hyper-optimize and become an echo chamber. And now, it's kind of part of the infrastructure as we know it. My hope is that it gives brands more dexterity and more opportunity creatively to explore what they can be and what works with consumers. Because as we all know with brands, consumers end up defining it anyways.
All right, Moran, you kind of hinted or spoke to this a little bit, but let's go forward like 2 years or something. When agents are talking to agents, like what does that mean for all of us who kind of oversee, let's say, people or groups or that sort of thing? Is it going to displace a lot of folks? What does it look like? What does an agent talking to another agent look like?
First of all, I'll give you the kind of final scene. The final scene is you have a company that makes money and no human works there. It's listed and it's like generating. That's the kind of end result of this. But I think in between, there's a moment of a fork in the road, which is, do we really give them the reins or not? I'll give you a concrete narrative. I used to work in Hollywood a little bit. And when I helped screenwriter write movies, I noticed that there's a pattern. Every 90 minutes movie that has AI in it looks the same. It begins with AI getting out of control, becoming a superpower, fighting the agent, or the engineer who built it, and basically gets better and better and better, and the humans are about to lose. But minute number 80, through the power of love and sheer insight, the two heroes come together, and they beat the machine, and the movie ends. Now, I think this is the case because all movies are made for humans. When AIs start to make their own movies, it's going to start the same way. In minute number 75, because of the power of love, they're going to kill us all. And then the movie ends. So I think that analogy is kind of like where I imagine the AI thing. Like we love to have kind of the agents work for us, do great things that we can come and get the cash. If they start kind of saying, hey, why do we give you the money at the end? We also can build our own, then I think is the issue. And I think the reality right now is that we're beginning to see AI agents kind of doing things on their own, like splitting to other AI agents or starting to lie to humans and so on. That is where I think we should kind of start to say, hey, where are the guardrails?
Yeah, love is great, but the other part, money, you just said. I mean, like, I believe when we get to AGI, then superintelligence, they're coming for the Bitcoin people. So you guys better have it in like the hard storage, that sort of thing. Really quickly, because I know we're almost done here. Imran, one of the themes at your conference just this week was you had a lot of CEOs of some very successful publicly traded companies and private. And, a lot of them were talking about how they have not added headcount at all. Speak to that a little bit, because that was something, and at least the markets, they're kind of cheering that right now. It doesn't mean they're firing people just yet, but they're not adding headcount even as their businesses grow.
I think they're making pretty meaningful investment in CapEx, right? Some of the big companies are spending 25% of their revenue in CapEx. So they have to fund the CapEx. So that's one area. Second, people are seeing how all this AI plays out. And then there's a lot of uncertainty around tariffs and things like that. So all of these things is contributing, not hiring, but nobody's really, at least it doesn't, looking at the market, laying off people. So we're kind of in a status quo environment for labor market.
All right, you're a lover, not a fighter. Thanks so much, guys. I really appreciate it being here. Thank you, guys.